Have you ever prayed and asked God to do something epic in your life? You know, God do something amazing, God do something extraordinary, God do something miraculous. And then your life falls apart. You face the biggest crisis of your life. And it seems almost as if God ignored your prayer. You're like, God, I was asking for you to do something awesome in my life, and you send me into a spiral. You turn my world upside down. You ruin everything. Have you ever noticed that we always want God to do something great, but we don't want to have to face a great challenge? See, if you ever ask God to do something great in your life or great with your life, what you're actually praying is, God, bring a great challenge to my life. I mean, imagine if you woke up and God said to you, no matter what you face today, I'm going to give you a complete victory. No matter what comes your way, I'm going to give you a complete victory. No matter how your world is turned upside down, I'm going to give you a complete victory. How would it change your posture to life if you knew every day that God guaranteed you a complete victory? It would change everything, wouldn't it? It would change your confidence. It would change the level of courage in your life. It would probably change the amount of risk you were willing to take. But what would happen if at the end of the day, after God told you, I'm going to give you a complete victory, at the end of the day, he says, nah, you're only going to get a partial victory. Well, he says, take the arrow in your hand and strike it. And so the king begins to strike the arrow, and it tells us that he strikes the arrow 3 times, which I think is a pretty good number. But have you ever felt like you did everything you're supposed to do, and you just stopped? And then later you found out it wasn't enough? Have you ever felt like God just isn't telling you what you need to do? And then he's blaming you for what you did not do? And then it occurred to me, you ever notice that a lot of times we act like we need to hear from God before we do something? You're telling me you have so much respect for God's sovereignty that you will not do anything because you're worried if you do something, you'll mess up God's plan for the universe. See, my approach was the opposite. If I don't know what to do, I'm just going to do something. See, what I find is that most of us, we act like we need permission from God to start something, but we never ask for permission when we quit. See, I think for so many of us here, we think that we're failures. We think that we failed God. We think we failed our purpose. We think we've become failures in our lives. And the truth is, God never told you to stop. He gave you an arrow. He put it in your hands. He said, strike. And you did it once or twice or 3 times, and you didn't get the result you wanted. You didn't see the outcome you wanted. It was harder than you thought it was supposed to be. It didn't happen as fast as you believed it would happen, so you just quit. I wonder how many dreams are still inside of you waiting to become your life, but you keep waiting for God to do what he's waiting for you to do. I wondered how many of us are going to die with our quivers full of arrows we were supposed to shoot. How many of us are going to die with an arrow in our hand that we just gave up and didn't strike enough times before God would come through? If you could get a glimpse of the greatness inside of you, you would have the strength to endure the pain you have to face. You underestimate how strong you are. You underestimate how much pain you can endure. You underestimate how you can stand in suffering and still see joy. And I do not want you to miss out on the freedom that God has for you and the greatness that God placed in you just because it's hard. So take the arrow and strike it. Take it in your hand and strike and strike. And realize that your freedom is on the other side of your fears and your greatness is on the other side of your pain, but also that your future is on the other side of your failures. The future God has for you is not a future you can get to without failure. It's not a future you can get to without messing up and blowing it and falling short and being disappointed. It's all a part of your story. But isn't that how great stories are written? When you're facing a life bigger than you, a challenge bigger than you. Of course, God's going to call you to a life that's bigger than you. It's the only way your life can be big enough for Him. Here we come. Do you hear the rumblings? It's your future waiting for you.